It's been a really weird week on Capitol Hill. We'll talk about it on the breakdown. Starts now. Welcome to the breakdown. I'm Tara Setmayer. This is the Rick Wilson, and it has been the weirdest, strangest, dumbest week on Capitol Hill, possibly in a very long time. And we're here to break it all down for you tonight. It's nice to see you, Rick. It's I like how
Thank you, Tara. Likewise.
Yes. It's yeah. As a former Capitol Hill staffer, I have to say that the antics on Capitol Hill this week have just been incredibly stupid. I saw some stupid shit while I was up there, but this week of physical altercations, name calling, just all around like fuckery has just been it's too much. It's too much.
Like this dumbass MAGA Fight Club vibe. And I know they think they're all being like, I'm a tough guy, like Mark Wayne, Jim Bob, Ed Bow, Cousin Humper, whatever his name is, Mullen, up there like, I'll fight with you right now. When Bernie Sanders has to come off the top rope and go, stop it, you are a United States Senator. Stop this. People hate you enough.
Yeah, it's
what a humiliating week for the Republicans at every level. Kevin McCarthy and Tim Burchett, elbowing each other in the hall in front of reporters. I mean, the entire thing, like in a sane world, these people would be in the principal's office getting detention.
Yeah, and that's not the only weird shit that's gone on this week. And we're going to talk about it. We got Trump going full Nazi, Republicans going full WWE, Santos getting totally exposed in the ethics committee report.
And by exposed, I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I can't say that on a family show these days.
I mean, I think we've long surpassed it. We're a family show at this point.
Let's put it this way. He spent campaign money on OnlyFans, and today on Twitter, one of his OnlyFans follows came out and said some very direct things.
Yeah.
She rated his blank, and the blank is not congressional voting record.
No, not in the least. Yeah. We're going to talk more about that. But of course, like I said, that's all of this isn't the only weird shit that's gone on this week. There's always some weird shit going on in the Republican Party. And we bring it to you wrapped in a nice little bow in Last Week in the Republican Party.
Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk.
I am reminded of the great words of the philosopher Austin Powers, who said, there's only two things I can't stand: people who are intolerant of other people and the Dutch.
He said, Chris Christie is a fat pig. You cannot say that, sir. You can, please.
Here's the truth.
You're just
the easy answer.
They can loot, riot, steal, murder.
There's nobody in Hollywood that can play the role of President Xi. The look, the strength, the voice. We will begin immediately negotiation.
Taxation is theft.
When you say go after them, what do you mean?
Arrest them. Imprison them for violating our Constitution.
Pure democracies are not the way to run a country.
And I'm a very proud election denier.
I mean, that's an actual civil war that you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You believe that the election was stolen in 2020?
Absolutely.
The intersection that's right at the heart of the new book on woke. As you know, I do a podcast.
Or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
All right, Mr.
In which case we've got two of them on stage.
And I'm not wearing lifts either, by the way. I don't have 6-inch heels.
I'm even going to build the border wall and have Mexico pay for it like Donald Trump promised.
And he's walking like... No, he's walking off the stage like he's trying to balance himself. I thought he was wearing ice skates.
I think we're either going to the White House or the big house. It's one or the other.
Thank you. The world is on fire.
Indeed, it is Nikki Haley who has now overtaken Ron DeSantis in the polls in a couple of places there.
I will say this: Tallahassee is burning up the last couple days with rumors DeSantis is about to get out because he has been whipped so badly by his own incompetence, his own tone deafness, his terrible campaign, his shit tier staff, and the unbelievable arrogance to think that he was going to go in to places like Iowa and just splash out enough money to win. It is crazy how quickly his fortunes have faded. And I, for one, am here for it because he really is.
Of course.
He really is right now a full employment program for the worst a-holes in American politics.
Yeah. Well, maybe that'll be his next job.
Oh, and by the way, Jeff Rowe,
president.
Jeff Rowe, we got some business to finish up, buddy. When you're done, we're going to settle some business.
Oh,
just letting you know.
Yes. I know what that's about.
Yes, you do.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, DeSantis. There's a political cartoon out today. My friend Michael Smerconish does a newsletter, and in his newsletter, he has on Wednesdays and Thursdays, he has political cartoonists give exclusive cartoons, and then this week he has I forget the cartoonist's name, forgive me, but the picture is of a balloon, like a hot air balloon,
right,
deflating, and there's a heel that deflated it, and the heel says Haley, and the balloon says DeSantis.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, Nikki Haley is overperforming right now in both Iowa and New Hampshire. The race is functionally over.
Yeah.
In both of those states.
Yes.
She is now in a decent second place in South Carolina. And look, this speaks to two things. If DeSantis drops out tomorrow, about half of his vote goes to Haley. Half of it goes back to Trump.
Right. And that still keeps it like this. Trump is here.
It still means that Trump is only 50 points ahead.
Right.
50 points ahead.
Right.
So, for all the sound and fury, it signifies nothing. And at the end of the day, all of them, spent the week as a contrast to Joe Biden, where they're all the weakest bunch of people I've ever seen. We're down at the debate last week, and it was the weakest performance. It was boring. It was dull. It was trite. Yep. You know what? When Joe Biden can stand on a stage and call President Xi of China a dictator, and these Nikki, these weak genitaled people can't even come out and say that Trump did not win the 2020 election.
Right.
Then they are disqualified. They are not relevant players. They're not real.
These aren't serious people, as we say.
Donald Trump's language is so outrageous and so over the top and so insane. And do you hear any of them criticizing it this week? Any of them making a single word about it? Any of them saying, by the way, Donald, you shouldn't say you're going to put your political opponents in prison. By the way, you shouldn't call people vermin.
Right. Like the whole party has been pretty quiet on this. And we're going to get to that in a second because we want to explain why what Trump said on Veterans Day was so beyond the pale again.
Yeah, again.
And there's historical context for this that we feel that we need to put it all into one thing. So we're going to give it the proper discussion that it deserves. But before we get there, there's of course the dumbassery going on Capitol Hill this week, which I'm sure by now everyone's heard about. On Tuesday, there were multiple, not one, not two, but 3 incidents of members of Congress behaving badly, both on the Senate and on the House side. Now, the first story was this weird interaction between this Tennessee Congressman Burchett and Kevin McCarthy in a hallway down there by HC5, which is, I've been down there, and it's kind of a crowded hallway. It's small, especially if everybody's coming and going, and you've got the media. It's like in the bowels of the house of the Capitol.
It's like 2.5 people wide.
Yeah, it's not that wide.
Yeah.
So, if you're coming through with an entourage, like a security detail, and you got somebody standing there doing an interview. Yeah, there's a lot going on. So this congressman claims that Kevin McCarthy elbowed him in the kidney as he walked by with his security detail. Now, it's on audio. He was doing an interview with NPR. So something happened. I don't know if it was as blatant as the elbow. I'm skeptical, but it doesn't matter. The whole thing is just, it's asinine. So he chases McCarthy down the hallway, and McCarthy's got a detail still. And he's like, what'd you do that for?
Which I don't know why.
I don't know why either. I guess maybe because he's a former speaker. So
maybe he's got threats or something. I don't know.
Who knows? But it's not Secret Service, just so people know. It's Capitol Police that protects the speaker or speakers, former speakers. And there was a back and forth on this, and like he's like, you don't have any guts, and you're a coward. And Kevin's like, I didn't do it. I mean, it's just so stupid. And then you have on the other side, on the Senate side, you had the senator from Oklahoma, Mark Wayne Mullen, who acts the way
Mark Wayne, Ed, Joe, Billy Bob, Cletus, whatever.
Right. Challenging a Teamsters guy, the head of the Teamsters.
And by the way, just so I can get ahead of just so I can get ahead of it for now. Yes, all of you who will go on Twitter and say, "Oh, Rick Wilson's an elitist who does," y'all, I'm more of a Southerner than any of you motherfuckers could possibly be. But I'm a legitimate Southerner. I'm not one of these goddamn mouth-breathing jackholes like this Mark Wayne
Mullen.
Yeah,
him.
I was trying not to say another word.
I know. You haven't finished your wine yet.
Snake-eyed. Renee just walked out and snake-eyed me. She's like,
I mean, the MFers come out of my mouth a couple times about Donald Trump, so it's happened. It's
legit.
happened.
Like she walked out like,
yeah, well, that because she's a legit Southerner with manners. So there you have it. So we, of course, we couldn't let this go by. Okay, with this challenging him to a fight and this whole thing, stand up, was crazy. So of course, the brilliance of our creative team over here at the Lincoln Project had to put a little ditty together called Elbow Mania. Watch.
Elbow Mania.
Two of the most punchable men in the House of Representatives, Tim Bible Beltway Butcher Burchett.
He's the type of guy that when you're a kid would throw a rock over the fence and run home and hide behind his mama's skirt.
And Kevin Sucker Puncher of the House McCarthy.
I personally like Tim Burchett. Tim Burchett's a friend of mine.
He mocked his faith.
I pray for my enemies.
I said, Tim, I read your quote. You said you're going to pray about it.
And now he's going to give you something to really pray about.
Got elbowed in the back. It was a clean shot to the kidneys, and I turned back, and there was Kevin.
He doesn't need a gavel to make you piss blood.
The kidney shot heard around the world. An actual alleged fight.
You're about to enter the Garden of Grieving.
Just ran after him. I was like, what the heck? Hey, Kevin, you got any guts?
Two men enter the Dome of Dysfunction. But who will deliver the ultimate capital punishment?
I have no earthly idea, brother.
The House of Representatives presents Elbow Mania. Followed immediately by the United States Senate presents Butt Ghazi.
Stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up, guy.
Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution every poll?
No, sit down.
Oh, Eric,
sit down.
Okay.
You're a United States Senator.
I mean, listen.
I mean, come on.
Like, this is one of the few times I'm actually going to
between you and I, Tara,
that I agree with Bernie Sanders. Like, sit your ass down. You're a freaking United States Senator. This is supposed to be the greatest deliberative body in the world, and you're acting like this. I cannot.
You and I have known the last Republican and Democratic, probably the last 9 or 10 Republican and Democratic leaders in the House, and the Senate.
Yes,
I could never in a million years. Let me put it this way. I'm not a Newt Gingrich fanboy, but I can't imagine he would have acted that way for a millisecond.
Never.
I can't imagine Tip or Nancy Pelosi or John Boehner ever with this dick swinging 8th grade bullshit.
Right.
It's just so. And look, I wrote about this week. I wrote an article called Fight Club this week about it, and it's like all the negative incentives that are on the Republican side now. Because look, they want the ability to go on TV and go, "I'm sure you're trying to cancel me. I'm trying to be a blah blah blah."
And you know what? You're correct, because this Senator Mullen jerk off went on Fox Business that night and then went on CNN the next day and basically said the same thing, totally justifying his behavior. We have a clip from it.
Yep.
Well, if you're going to bring that back, I guess you got to have this tough guy act, and that's what he thought he was going to do with me. The problem is that's not how we behave in Oklahoma. You know, some people say, is this behavior incumbent to a senator? I don't know, but I will tell you this for sure. That's not how we behave in Oklahoma, and I'm an Oklahoman first. And so if you're going to run your mouth, you're going to be called out on it, and that's what happened here.
How did you think it was going to go? And is there anything, Senator, that we did not see on camera?
Yeah, the fear in his eyes when I stood up. He was scared out of his mind because he was very thankful that Bernie Sanders stopped us. After he said, okay, we can do it now, I thought, great, this is going to be a great day. I mean, no offense, but I really wasn't worried about the fight itself, but I was ready to shut his mouth up. This guy, you can't continue to do this stuff. Too many times people, they get real tough on a keyboard because of social media, but when they get called on it, they actually may learn lessons. So maybe he learned a lesson because afterwards he was backpedaling, saying, hey, listen, this is what I'm mad at. Let's go get a cup of coffee. Fine, if you want to have a cup of coffee. I fought a lot of guys in the cage and competed a lot of times on the mat in jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and I'm good friends with them afterwards. We can shake hands and move on. We may be able to put this to bed, but I guarantee he won't run his mouth to me again.
By the way, Sean O'Brien actually did that in the hearing because of Mark Wayne's accent. He's like, I can't understand what this guy is saying.
Let me say this.
We have the clip. Wait. We have the clip.
Play.
The reality of it is,
Except my challenge,
Mr. Mullen, tough guy.
Hold it. Answer the questions.
All right, you're one. He made a lot of statements, right? And his statements are fiction at best.
Fiction, I read them.
Can you
What?
answer the question, please?
I can't understand him, to be honest with you.
All right.
He rambles so much. What was your question, actually?
You said I made a lot of statements.
No, but what's your question? I don't understand your question. Could you repeat it?
You said anytime, any place.
What's your question?
Accept the challenge.
What challenge?
You said anytime, any place. I'm accepting yours, so why don't you come
What
back?
challenge? What challenge are you talking
April
about?
30th. How about we do it for a charity at the Smoking Guns in Tulsa, Oklahoma?
No, we're not going to be
what was the
talking about
challenge?
physical confrontations here.
You want to fight me?
What did you say about anytime, any place?
Let's have coffee, discuss our differences.
That's what you said.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
All right, well, let's sit down and have coffee.
Let's do it.
All right.
I'd love to.
But
do it.
It's funny how you're backing out.
Okay.
I don't back on anything.
You did.
You're the one. You're a 100.
Senator,
should be the most influential people in this country making changes.
Senator
You're
Huston.
focused on.
Okay.
You're
Thank
focused
you.
on
Why did
debate
you-
that's not
Why
even
did
relevant.
Texting
You're an
me and they
embarrassment.
got
You're an
silent.
embarrassment.
They went
That's what
silence
you are.
after
You're an embarrassment to the
text.
state of
this
Oklahoma.
hearing is about the condition of the working class in America.
I mean, it's a Saturday
You know
Night
what?
Live skit writing itself right there. And that doesn't look like a guy who was scared the way that McMullen, sorry, Evan, that Mark Wayne
Sorry,
Mullen claimed he was scared and backed away. Okay, Sean O'Brien's from Boston. Like, get the fuck
Right.
out of here. He's the
Yeah,
head of the
yeah,
Teamsters.
Right. That's a guy. You know what? This is a classic MAGA thing. Is they say things like, "You must be scared," and it's like, y'all don't understand. You can't read the emotional temperature of contempt versus fear. Because what I read from Sean was like, "Go fuck yourself."
Exactly. He was like, "You want to fight me?
You want to fight me?
disgrace."
I'm from fucking Southie.
Right.
Come
He's
on.
a Southie. Like, stop it. I mean, the whole thing, I just can't believe we're in this moment. Like, I cannot believe what we're witnessing. But again, this is shit flows south. This starts from the head. And the Republicans have allowed Trump to get away with this tough guy, fake tough guy act. Mullen thinks he's somebody because he fought a couple MMA fights. Okay, so what? You're also like this tall, and that's why he's got this complex, this Napoleonic complex. Talking about, oh, you're gonna fight me, blah, blah, blah. Like, just stop it. And he's got 6 kids, by the way. And when he was on with Dana Bash on CNN, she asked him, like, what was that? Like, you looked like you were taking off your wedding ring. Like, what were you? He goes, oh no, I was fully prepared to knock him out. Really? Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Crazy.
You know,
talk.
Tara, in my misspent youth, I could both take and land a punch, but after you become a grown ass adult,
correct, a United States senator,
United States senator, maybe not having the performative bullshit of "I'm going to beat you up. My dad can beat up your dad."
Yeah,
it's just so the guy scans as like a walking ad for erectile dysfunction. He's just so pathetic.
I know.
And you know, the only thing I really wanted there was like a scene of like magical realism of Bernie like hulking out and like,
Yeah.
bam!
I know. Bernie Sanders. Like I said, I can't wait to see what Saturday Night Live does with this weekend because
United States Senator, we're talking about the working people, not the
Right.
billionaires and millionaires who
Right.
like your MMA performances.
Oh my gosh. That's a pretty good Bernie impression.
Rick has had one glass of wine.
Right, and the Southern
And the
accent's
Southern
coming
accent
out.
is coming out.
Right. I've had nothing to drink, but when I get excited, the Jersey accent comes out, and so
I think
there's
I was
that.
just ratted out to Kate and Michelle by someone else.
Oh my God. Well, no, you had the drink in your hand.
I did.
Yeah.
But
We
now
don't know
I'm
how
drinking
many there
the
were before
iced
that.
coffee for the
Not
evening.
that one. So, guys, that wasn't the. Oh, no, I don't. Okay, that's actually funny. You know why? When I worked in the congressman's office from California, I was the only East Coaster. Almost everyone in his office was from California. And so we would say certain, things, and they would make fun of me all the time because I would say, can you hand me a pen? It's in the second drawer. And they're like, in the what? I'm like, the second drawer. They were like, what's a drawer? I'm like, the cabinet drawer. What are you talking? They're like, it's a drawer. I'm like, a what? It's not a drawer. So anyway, I guess maybe that's fair that my accent comes out all the time. Anyway, guys, that wasn't the only thing that happened. There was another event. Now, this one wasn't physical, but it was name calling. It was another like playground, nanny poo poo. You're an idiot and you're this and blah, blah, blah. It was between James Comer, who is the chairman of Oversight, and Representative Moskowitz. Now, what was happening? It's over the Joe Biden loan to his brother, which was supposed to be some kind of big unethical thing. Joe Biden was not in office at the time, and his brother paid the loan back. But James Comer, and thanks to the good work of the Daily Beast, they uncovered that he actually loaned his brother a couple $100,000, and there was through like Shell LLCs. There was some kind of shady farm thing going on there while he was in office, by the way.
Not the other shady farm thing with Comer, which involved the goat screaming, "No!"
There's a theme. Stop, Rick. There seems to be a through line tonight with that. Yeah. So here's that exchange, guys. This was all on Tuesday. Watch this.
But you and Goldman, who is Mr. Trust Fund, continue to try to
reclaiming my time.
No, I'm not going to give you your time back. We can stop the clock. You all continue to. You look like a Smurf here, just going around and all this stuff. Now listen,
Mr. Chairman,
I'm going to tell you something.
Hold on. If we're not on time,
we spew disinformation.
You have gone on TV and said the president did something illegal. You're doing stuff with your brother. The American people have the same questions. Why should they believe you? Why should they believe you? Why should they believe you? There's a different rule for the president. There's a different rule for you. Why should they believe what you're saying, Mr. Chairman? Why? You go on Fox News and say loans and deals are a way to evade taxes. We don't know that's what you're doing or not. We don't know. We have no idea. We're supposed to take your word for it. But when the president
you've
says
already
something,
been proven a liar, Mr. Moskowitz.
What's that?
You've already been proven a liar.
Who's proven me a liar? You?
Yes.
Your word means nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Go to my hometown. There's a camera crew there today, an opposition research crew there today.
Mr. Chairman, this seems to have gotten under your skin.
I'll pay for your ticket.
I think the American people have lots of questions, Mr. Chairman, and perhaps you should sit maybe for a deposition.
Tara, if I may quote the ancient philosophical forum, The Simpsons, some folk will never lose a toe, but then again, some folk will. It's Comer, the slack-jawed yokel. That guy is a absolute proof case that no one in Congress has. There's no sort of screening for membership in Congress that involves being smarter than a toaster oven. I mean, that guy is dumb in the way. It's like him listening to Moskowitz talk is like a planaria trying to understand like differential calculus. This guy is epically, astoundingly, conditiously stupid at every level. And yes, once again, Rick Wilson's looking down on people who aren't as educated. You know what? This guy
He's a member of Congress that our tax dollars
is a member of Congress who is embarrassing in his unbelievable mental density He's like a window licking mook. I cannot imagine for one moment that anyone in his district looks up and goes, "Why, yes, that's the pinnacle of leadership. He's the apotheosis of enlightened intellectual governance."
Rick, but the problem is they voted for him. Okay, just like they voted for Boebert, just like they voted for Gates, just like they voted for Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, people have to be responsible for the people that they vote for.
I get it, but people shouldn't expect me to pretend that they're not stupid.
No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that, obviously there are people who are perfectly fine with this because these people continue to get voted into office, which is why there needs to be, other people that challenge them. Or this guy was rewarded with a chairmanship of a pretty important committee. This is not, it's unspeakable and it's very frustrating, but this is what happens. These people cannot be in power. And shout out to Moskowitz's epic plaid suit. I thought it was pretty snazzy. That's his thing. That's his thing.
The guy's got style, man.
Yeah,
he's
good for him.
Florida guy.
That's right. There you go.
He comes hot.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, and then we were, talking about that. People voted in George Santos, who today, finally, the House Ethics Committee came out with a report, which was scathing. Nothing shocked me in that report. What I saw, it was all, given what we already know, what's already in the public sphere, but it's some of the things that he was accused of, misusing his campaign money for, besides the fact we already heard about the federal charges, right? Where he committed identity theft and stole donors' identities and charged things on their credit cards, all kinds of stuff that he wasn't supposed to do. Then we find out that he used campaign funds for an OnlyFans account, for Botox, because, the Queen has to look good for his appearances on C-SPAN.
Obviously, I'm very deeply involved in the Botox movement.
Yeah. No. Sephora, because once again, he lied about having a Maserati, never had that. The lies are epic. Today, there was a text. I don't know if that text came out from the ethics report or not, but I saw it on social media between him and a staffer where he was talking about Janet Yellen. And the staffer was like, "Who's Janet?" Right. Gee whiz. He was like, the Secretary of Treasury. These are his
They're once again, if I may quote Donald Trump, they're not sending their best.
No, they're not. They're not. And I said that he should have been kicked out a long time ago, and they need to expel him now. Enough is enough. No. He should not be able. He's not going to run for re-election now. Shocker. Still running around completely not contrite, not sorry. He's calling this a smear campaign. By the way, the ethics committee is bipartisan. It's a smear campaign, but he's not going to run for re-election. He does not deserve to sit in that seat in Congress and collect taxpayer money.
Not 1 millisecond longer.
One more day. It's bullshit. So after the Thanksgiving holiday, when they come back, they need to kick his ass out.
Right. A motion to expel should be made immediately. Supposedly there's somebody who's going to make one tonight or later today. I don't know if that happened, but this is a guy.
They're out of session, so they can't vote on it.
Right. Actually, they are now, right?
Yeah.
This is a guy. If you look at George Santos in the totality of corruption in our lifetimes in Congress, it's absolute. Look, Traficant was way up there.
This is worse.
This is worse than
Traficant. This is worse than Traficant.
But this is much worse. Oh, yeah, completely.
Fine. And they kicked Traficant out. Didn't they expel Traficant?
The Democrats kicked him out.
Right.
Now, I grant you at the time they had a 50-seat majority, but okay.
But still, and Traficant's C-SPAN speeches are epic.
Congressman Bullethead, baby.
Yeah, beam me up. So yeah, anyway, it just goes into this ongoing narrative about how Republicans are just not serious people and they don't deserve to be in power and they shouldn't be running anything. They shouldn't be running anything. A lemonade stand on the corner, nothing. They are ridiculous. So,
Terry, right now, Mike Johnson, using Democratic votes, has signed his own death warrant.
Oh, yeah.
For the fact that on January 19th, the next CR comes up, and the Freedom Caucus and some other folks in the Republican majority gave him a grace period to get this one underway because there had been so much chaos.
Right.
And their polling is so bad.
Yep.
But by the time the holidays are over and they all roll back in January, and he tries to pass a clean CR, he's gone.
Yeah,
So
that's what McCarthy got ousted for.
A new lease on life.
Yeah, I mean that's what McCarthy got kicked out for, and so Mike Johnson stops the government from shutting down. They pass this very weird 2-tiered CR. I'd never seen that before, by the way. But whatever. So the government is not going to shut down this week. Okay, fine, but then we're going to be right back here again in January. So it's just they're just kicking the can down the road, and we'll see what happens there. But this all, again, goes back to this chaos is happening in the House. We've got real world problems going on here. And Donald Trump, still leading in the polls, is running around literally quoting Hitler at rallies on Veterans Day, no less. Now, this happened on Saturday. So it feels like it was like a month ago already, but it was Saturday on Veterans Day. And he puts out this Truth Social post first, where it's supposed to be like a Happy Veterans Day thing, and then it turns into, of course, about him and some kind of nutty rant, where he says he's going to root out the vermin. Those who know history know that the term vermin was used by Hitler and Mussolini. Like, vermin has a very specific context.
And Tara, I want to say one other thing about that. I know everyone gets freaked out when we use the Hitler analogies because Hitler had normal-sized hands. But in a serious note, if you want a contemporary example from the early 1990s, there was a radio station that was the propaganda network of the Rwandan government. And for a long time, they ran a campaign on their air calling the Tutsi minority vermin, scorpions, spiders, snakes, devils. And then at one point, the head of RTLM, later when he was being interviewed for the war crimes that resulted from RTLM's propaganda, he said, I knew I was spreading petrol all around the country. I just didn't know when the match would fall. 1 million Tutsis were slaughtered out of a population of 3 million. Yep. That would be the equivalent of 100 million Americans being killed in a 100-day period.
Yeah, in a civil war there.
So,
it was awful.
And this wasn't juiced up with social media, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all
right,
the
none
other,
of that existed then.
Right. That was AM radio.
Yep.
And it was one of the most horrific genocides in the 20th century. It was pound for pound just after the Holocaust, pound for pound.
Right. Yeah.
And the idea that you can irresponsibly go out and say, my opponents are vermin, I'm going to put them in jail, they're going to be punished, we're going to take them out over and over and over and over again.
Well, I mean,
it's the same thing, the same fucking rhetoric that all these people, when Trump lost in 20, were like, well, what's the harm in humoring him for a couple weeks?
Right.
Why? Well, let's just keep him happy.
Yeah. Well,
and then when people invade the Capitol and attack police officers and invade the U.S. Capitol,
words have consequences.
That's what happens. Yes.
Right. Words have consequences, and it's not by accident. They use these terms. Dictators use these terms. Demagogues use these terms in order to dehumanize their opponents. That dehumanization is what led to those atrocities from Nazi Germany up to Rick's example of the Rwandan genocide. They're doing this on purpose. This is not a slip of the tongue. It's not a coincidence anymore. It's not a dog whistle. It's freaking deliberate. And for those who have not seen it yet or were unfamiliar with exactly what Trump said because you have lives on weekends and you don't watch this shit like we do.
Sorry.
We're gonna show it to you. Here it is.
In honor of our great veterans on Veterans Day, we pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections and will do anything possible. They'll do anything, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America and to destroy the American dream. The real threat is not from the radical right. The real threat is from the radical left, and it's growing every day, every single day. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. Our threat is from within, because if you have a capable, competent, smart, tough leader, Russia, China, North Korea, they're not going to want to play with us.
Let me tell you something right now, okay? What he said, he not only put it on that Truth Social, he read it again at the rally. It's again deliberate. The coverage of this was very frustrating because the next day the headlines should have said what the Washington Post said, which was Trump echoes Nazi terminology at rally, basically.
Right.
There it is. So the New York Times compares Hillary Clinton's deplorables comment and like they're somehow equivalent. They're not. And says Trump takes Veterans Day speech in a very different direction. That was the headline from that speech. A very different direction? Get the hell out of here. But the Washington Post got it right. But folks, we can't have this. The New York Times has a history of doing this too, by the way. We're going to get to that. Go ahead.
If you believe for 1 second that a tenth of Trump's rhetoric is real, you should be scared shitless.
Yes.
You should be thinking, oh, fuck, what am I doing to beat this guy every day? That's what we wake up thinking every day at the Lincoln Project. We wake up thinking, how do we beat this guy? And you know what? It's not always easy because very frequently you have the media treating him like he's an exception to the rules on one hand, or that it's just one flip side of the coin.
Right. Moral equivalency.
This is not normal.
No.
This is not regular. When Hillary Clinton talked about the basket of deplorables, let's be specific. She was talking about the racial alt-right movement that was backing Trump, specifically about the alt-right white supremacists who were backing Trump. David Duke.
She was right.
And all these people. And you know what? There have not been a lot of times in my political career where I said, go girl, Hillary was right.
Yeah.
Hillary was right.
She was right because it wasn't a little more than a year later from when she said that, roughly, that Charlottesville happened. Yep. So, it's not like we haven't seen this before. We have with him. I mean, and yet the New York Times, how irresponsible of them. But like I said, they've done this before.
I'm sorry, Tara. There are other headline this week that said Trump aides push back against reports of contentious plans. Contentious.
Right. The plans to
reporting 10 million people, putting your political opponents in political prison. Oh, that's contentious.
Contentious.
Oh, that Trump, he's just zesty.
Well, they are zesty. They also screwed up on the Israeli accusing Israel of bombing the hospital in Gaza.
Sure.
That was a complete screw up too on their part that they had to walk back. So I don't know what they're doing over there, but
they very much overcorrected in the last couple of years.
Well, yeah.
Because the Republicans are great at playing the refs.
And CNN tried that also during the era of Chris Licht, and it was a disaster. And they've started to right the ship a little bit editorially again. But you cannot, as Stuart Stevens says, we're under no obligation to tell both sides of a lie. And
it's what Jay Rosen says, it's not the odds, it's the stakes.
Correct. 100%. And this is I want to show an example because I don't know if a lot of people know this. Like I said, we were talking in our editorial meeting this morning about how the New York Times has done this before. Yep. Back in the 20s and 30s, here's one, Hitler tamed by prison. They had all these like glowing milquetoast kind of articles about how Hitler, he learned his lesson, or he was in his vacation home while he was plotting the gassing of Jews. Like, what are they doing with the New York Times? They've done this before. And in New York City, we see all of this anti-Semitism that's going on, and we all over the country in places like New York, LA, and here in DC. It's just been nuts. There was a Nazi rally in the 1930s at Madison Square Garden.
The German-American Bund.
That's right. And I don't know how many Americans ever actually know that or have ever seen the clips from that. Well, we're going to show it to you right now.
Horrifying.
This was in the U.S., New York City. Madison Square Garden.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Americans, American patriots, I'm sure I do not come before you tonight as a complete stranger. You all have heard of me through the Jewish-controlled press as a creature with horns, a cloven hoof, and a long tail. We, with American ideals, demand that our government shall be returned to the American people who founded it. If you ask what we are actively fighting for under our charter, first, a social, just, white, Gentile-ruled United States. Second, Gentile-controlled labor union, free from Jewish Moscow-directed domination.
That man's name.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
That man's name was Isidore Greenbaum. He was a Jewish American who went up in a auditorium full of 6,000 American Nazis and put his life on the line. And if you can't get up and fucking register to vote or vote early or tell your friends not to vote for Donald Trump, are you even an American? Because that was an American hero. He knew he'd get his ass kicked. He knew he'd get fucking stomped. And he did it anyway. And when Fritz Raum and these other Nazis that are up there speaking, as part of an American Nazi movement.
That's the key. American here.
In America, those were America first Nazis in the 30s, people. This is not something that that exists in a vacuum. Anti-Semitism is a disease. It will grow anytime it's watered and fertilized. And right now, we're seeing it grown and fertilized again on Twitter and elsewhere, and on TikTok and around the world. And I watched that video and I'm chilled to the bone. But I'm heartened by Isidore Greenbaum, a guy who knew he would get his ass whooped and still went up there anyway to stop it.
Yep.
God bless him.
Absolutely. Right. Evil triumphs when good men do nothing.
That is a fact.
So there you have it. History, we do not want history to repeat itself in this country.
No.
And we are in a position, and when I say we, I mean we as an Americans are in a position to use our agency as voters to vote people out that are okay with this type of behavior, with this type of authoritarianism, with the type of violent rhetoric, with this anti-democratic populist bullshit. Okay. That's what it led to last time. It led to a world war, and it led to millions of people losing their lives. We are on the brink of something almost as terrible as that happening again. And if people don't think so, they have their heads up their asses, because it's right in front of us. Donald Trump and his people are telling us what they are going to do.
They always tell you what they're going to do.
They always tell us. I was on Mehdi Hassan's show earlier today. It's airing at 8:00 on Peacock, actually. And there's a clip, I think, already out. But we were talking about Mike Davis, who is one of these Trump guys who actually had, he was like a normal, like what you would call a normal Republican. Like he worked for Gorsuch, he worked for Grassley. He was, has a bona fide resume. Until Trump era came around, and now he's turned into this crazy Trumper where he's using terms like violent terms. We're gonna brass knuckle this. We're gonna, throw these people out. We're gonna put these people in gulags. Really ugly stuff. And this is someone that Trump, Donald Jr., Steve Bannon. Oh, you know what? He's like our candidate for Attorney General. That's the kind of person we want, Attorney General. They mean it, people. They mean it. When someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them. And when Donald Trump and his people tell you what they're going to do, effing believe them, because they've done it already. So there's no reason to believe they wouldn't do it again. On that note, nice and light. So this show is, oh my gosh. I wanted to also show another thing, because with all of that, Jenna Ellis this week, if you don't believe what we're saying concerning Trump and not wanting to leave, and we've said this before, we actually put an ad out about that back during 2020, that he wouldn't leave. If he gets reelected again, he's not going to leave. Donald Trump himself used to tweet out things that showed him with, staying forever. They would show the clock of the dates. Like, okay, so Jenna Ellis, her deposition or testimony during the Georgia case got leaked, and she told us, that's what they were planning to do in 2020. Watch it. Don't believe me? Watch it.
I thought that the claims and the ability to challenge the election results was essentially over.
But this election is now over. Congress has certified the results. I don't want to say the election's over.
He said to me in a kind of excited tone, well, we don't care and we're not going to leave. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, the boss, meaning President Trump, and everyone understood the boss. That's what we all called him.
I just want to say Congress has certified the results without saying the election's over, okay?
He said the boss is not going to leave under any circumstances. We are just going to stay in power. And I said to him, well, it doesn't quite work that way, you realize. And he said, we don't care.
I will totally accept the results of this great and historic presidential election if I win.
I know. It makes me sick to my stomach. It makes me sick to my stomach that so many people in this country look at this, watch this, see this, and they're okay with it. But there's more of us than there are of them, as I often say. So there's still hope. There's still hope. On that note, I want to make sure that we get this in before we end the show, because next week we will not be on air because it's Thanksgiving, and we were going to take some of your Thanksgiving questions, but the show took a different turn. But I want to get this in though, because Rick Wilson is turning the big 6-0 next Tuesday.
This is true.
Yes, you are turning 60, Rick. So happy early birthday.
Thank you.
But you have a really cool story. It's a like an interesting story about you, your mom, and the JFK assassination. It's crazy.
So my mom was pregnant out to here with me, and I believe it was either the 19th or the 20th. JFK came to Tampa, Florida, and she did a Young Democrats event with him at Al Lang Field. And there's a picture of her with her big old bouffant, her big old belly, and JFK. And the next day, on the 21st, I was born. And exactly 24 hours to the minute of my birth, JFK was killed in Dallas on the 22nd. So that's my weird JFK moment in history story that always contextualizes me. And as a demographer once said, he goes, the baby boomer generation died the day JFK died, which is why, although I'm turning 60, I identify as Gen X more than the boomers. I'm like the last tail into that whole piece of the spectrum. But it was fascinating because a few times I've gone through like the state of Florida photo archives and stuff, looking for their pictures of them. But it was a really
Do you have a picture of that?
I have it somewhere. I don't have it on this computer, but I've got it. Right. I've got a physical copy somewhere.
Yeah.
So
well, if you find it, you should
crazy.
Post it. You should post it.
I'll dig it up. I'll dig it up.
That's a wild piece of history.
To the hour, she was laying in the hospital with me the next day, and he was killed. To the hour, 24 hours later.
Well, you got to meet JFK in utero. Not too many people can say that.
Here we are.
Not too many people can say that. Well, okay.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I feel very blessed with a wonderful, rich relationship and great family and great friends and an amazing team at LP at every level and an amazing group of people that have been so supportive of me in every endeavor for the last 8 years of all this craziness. I am grateful beyond words.
Well, we are grateful for you as well, Rick Wilson. Happy early birthday. We all love and salute you, my dear friend. And we will see you all in 2 weeks. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Please don't get into any fisticuffs. Do not be a Republican at your Thanksgiving.
And by the way, we're going to be going back to weekly after the holidays.
After the holidays, yes. You'll get to see us weekly again because we can't wait 2 weeks. There's just too much.
Right. It's just too much. Too much stuff.
Too much stuff. So anyway, we'll see you guys though in 2 weeks after this holiday. Take care.
Good night, folks.